Ladies and gentlemen, here she is, Traci
Hey,
Connell. I think
hi
a lot of you
guys.
probably know Traci. Hi, Traci.
I see lots of familiar faces over there. First of all, thank you, Faye and Lee and Delta Faucet Company for having me on today. It's just been so great to be a trusted partner with them. And anytime I can come and share anything that I've learned over the years, I am more than happy to.
Yay. Well, we are so happy to have you, and it's been so great to work with you over the last several months, preparing for not only this, but some other things that we've partnered together to do. And so it's been so fun getting to know you. I'm really excited to hear what you have to say today. I think everybody on the line is too. We've got a good crowd gathering here for you.
Great.
Talk to us first, though, before we get into all the good stuff. Talk to us about your businesses, and I say that plural, and how they came to be. So you've got Traci Connell Interiors and you've got The Gloss.
Yeah.
Describe to this group what that's all about.
Yes. Okay. Some of you, if you know me, you might know a little bit about me. I seem to be getting around a lot more lately. So I have an interior design firm in Dallas, Texas, almost 25 years. And so I built it really, I guess the last like 12 is when I really ramped it up. During that time was my biggest growth opportunity within the firm. And I documented systems and prices. I tried everything, but I built it, right? And so we do mostly high-end residential, large renovations, new construction. My firm is about 9 people. So all great, right? And then I realized in about, I guess, 2019, I don't know. You know how you guys like you're doing something for a long time and then you get this like kind of this tug like, okay, you were made for more. Like there's something else here that you have to explore. And mind you, when you talk about like transferable skills, so I am a formally trained teacher. And so I built this successful business here in Dallas. And I said, I will never go back in the classroom and I'm never going to teach again. But guess what? I'm teaching again. So, what I ended up doing, I started privately coaching designers on the business side of design. I loved it so much that I built a platform and it is called The Gloss for Interior Designers. And it's not lipstick or nail polish, it's the ultimate glossary of business resources for interior designers. And it is a safe place. It is a place where I talk about my favorite thing, which is all business on the design side, while right teaching the systems, the processes, the pricing, and actually how to remove yourself from the weeds. So you guys should join us over in the Gloss. The main hub is on Facebook. So it's a Facebook group, the Gloss Frontier Designers, but it's a great resource for all of you to ask questions, get answers. And then I have several programs within there. They're year-long programs that you can join to get a deeper dive into education on the business side.
That's so wonderful. I mean, I think that's a big part of why we even brought this community together is to everybody kind of figure out what everybody else is doing and share this type of knowledge and kind of know who's out there who's mastered it.
Yeah.
And I think it's amazing that you were a former teacher and you said you'd never be back in the classroom.
Yeah,
You just get
right.
pulled right back in, don't you?
Somehow, just I guess just teaching like taller people.
Well, yeah, taller people. That's right. Oh, that's great. Well, hey, before we get into the nitty gritty here, I just want to mention to everybody on the line that Traci, we're going to give her a really special job at the end of the webinar. If you're still hanging on and you've commented, we are going to randomly select 2 very lucky winners to win what you saw already, which is that pull down lavatory faucet. And then we've got another one coming up later. So stick with us, listen in and comment, and you could be a winner. All right, Traci, let's get into it here. We want to dig into this today's topic of sales and profit. So there's kind of 2 parts to this. And like I said before, each and every day, we all find ourselves in a position of selling. We might be selling an idea, a thing, some sort of solution. And selling can be kind of uncomfortable. Like if you think of it in terms of selling, it can be kind of uncomfortable unless you're the queen of upselling, who is here in the
Yeah.
crowd. But so I think what you bring to this is this level of purpose and practice. And I think we should dig right into how it all begins, and that's with the client's perspective.
It is. And the most interesting thing about this is that as an interior designer, and all of you who are maybe in product sales that are on the line today or work for Delta Faucet Company, I hope what I'm bringing you from a designer's standpoint will help you all understand the design process too. You guys probably think it's like nuts, and it kind of is. So I'm hoping this perspective will help you understand as you partner with designers. So yes. So what is so interesting as I dig into the education of the business side of design is that a lot of my designers in my program would get to proposal, or they're selling their services and they fall down, they fumble over their words, they're not sure how to do it. And then like I had a light bulb moment. I was like, we were never taught to sell, period. We weren't taught to do accounting. We had to do that too. You know, all the things, but we really, that's the backbone of our business is selling our services, selling our ideas, like you mentioned, Faye, selling product. And we're never taught the structure on how to do it. And
Mhm.
so that's the most important thing, is to understand and start with the client's perspective,
Mhm.
which is
Mhm.
interesting because, you know, from the client's point of view, they don't like to be sold to, but they like to buy, right?
We like to buy.
They like to buy. That's why they called you, right?
Yeah. And we talked about this before. There is a reason, there's a number one reason that they don't buy. And
Yeah,
before you answer it, though, before you answer it,
yeah,
we've got to go to a poll.
do it.
So Lee's going to launch a poll here, and we want to know if they know what's the number one reason people don't buy. Everybody out there. Trust. Trust is
Get some
winning.
answers coming in.
They're saying trust.
Let me give it one more second. All right, going to go ahead and wrap this up, and we'll share the results here.
All right. Yeah. You know what? So 50% of the people say trust, but Tracy's going to tell us the real answer. I think
People
trust is
really,
all part of it. We'll get there, right?
yes, yes.
But yeah, here's the answer. We're going to expose it. They're confused.
They're confused, you guys. You know, in all those things, I mean, it's definitely a part of it. And I feel like trust is talked about more recently right now. Consumer confidence is way down, and they really need to understand and trust you before they're going to hand you a couple $100,000, like maybe they did last year during the pandemic. But the number one question, or really the reason why they're confused, why they're not like confused on whether to buy, is because they are confused, especially in our industry, right? They have anxiety around it. They think about, they're confused in their buying habits. There's a couple things running around in their brain, right? And it's really a couple of things. Is it too much money, right? That's what they're thinking. It's too much money. Or they're thinking, well, I probably should explore other options, right? And then this other part of their brain says, you know, they have fear. And their fear is that they didn't cover all the, first, should I go explore other options? Or, you know, the next thing is, well, if I don't cover all the options, am I going to be, right? Is this going to be the best decision for me? So the easier you can make it on them, the better, right? That's where that empathy part comes in. You have to be very empathetic to what they're going through. And that's something, you know, really hard, because the
Yeah.
thing is, yeah, let's pop it up on this screen, right? The way to do that is sell the problem that you solve, not the product that you have. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a big switch from what we're used to doing. We're used to selling product, all of us, all of us.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's something that we need to dig into a little bit more. And I feel like it is. We talk a lot about our product. We talk a lot about our services, but there are different ways that we can do this, with using the steps that are in front of us to make that sale.
Great. And so there are 7 steps, we said. Can we start with step number 1? It's kind of this idea of being a trusted advisor, kind of building that rapport. But you can't just expect the trust to happen.
Exactly. And there are 7 steps. And yeah, we're going to dig into each one of them because this is going to really build your sales cycle. Okay, your system. Yes, the first one I like to say is building rapport and building trust. And I like to start out like with this little quote that 70% of consumers base their buying power on the way they're being treated. Right? You start interacting with them on social media. Are they getting a response from you? Are you real? Right? The other thing is those decision makers need to be with you on that very first visit. Okay? Because oftentimes, if both decision makers are not there, then you have one partner going to tell the other partner all about your services, everything that you do. And that one person's going to hear one thing, and maybe it's markup because they've asked about it. And then the other partner says, oh, no, they mark things up. We're not doing it. So I would suggest that when you're talking about money, you're talking about your services. Any decision makers need to be there. The other benefit is your goal in this first meeting is to get the trust, right? Establish trust, but show yourself, right? Sometimes I like show a little sense of humor. You're engaging, you're talking to them, they're understanding you're a real person, and you truly are coming at this with your best foot forward. And if you're like a casual, not everybody is doing a high end, resume. If you're more on the job site or GC or something, be yourself, right? Be yourself. But another way of building that rapport and establishing trust is by asking their why. Tell me more, right? Tell me more about this project. What is your pain? What is your pain? Because they're going to go about this buying decision. And we're talking about right now whether to hire your firm. So we're talking about hiring and like selling your services. And when you think about that, people make decisions out of logic, right? Or emotion. And like, this is a good example for guys who walk into Best Buy and they're going for what, a 65-inch TV, and there's a 90-inch TV. And it's like, all right. And they go for the big TV. So in their head, the logic has justified the purchase, but it's the emotion that allowed them to get this done.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah. So you're disarming them. The thing is, they're like, oh, I've never done this before. So you're disarming them. I always like to take someone with me, maybe a design assistant or another designer, because I feel like while I'm talking to the client, they're writing all the information down. And like I said, I can banter, create a connection on something. And I feel like I remember this quote or it's a statistic. So 80% of sales are lost, are lost because the salespeople fail to establish an element of trust or credibility in the first meeting.
Yeah.
You can handle that with what you say, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you have a little bit of a method to go about sort of extracting, asking the right questions and extracting the information to earn trust.
Yes.
And we're calling it the BANT method, right?
I'm calling it the BANT method. It's just an easy way for you guys, even if you're like sitting down in front of somebody and you're like, okay, I got to make this sale. So what does that look like? Yes, it's asking qualified questions. Because if you are trying to sell your services, you need to know some things too. And that's why I call it the BANT method, because the B stands for budget, right? Do they have the means to take on this project? Is the investment level, does it match up to what you're usually used to working with? The A in the BANT method has to do with authority. I shouldn't tell. We're doing a poll.
That's all right. That's all right.
I have one job to launch the polls, and I I slept through it. So
I'm not here. You guys do the pool and the poll, and then we'll go back.
Well, some people are they're starting to chime in. Do they know the BANT method already?
Maybe if they've heard anything from me, maybe.
well, we've got a pretty smart group here. So
I know, because when they were talking about, the first question, I was like, oh, you
Yeah,
guys,
they have some superpowers out there.
I'd say.
Yeah.
all right, we're gonna go ahead and end the poll here. There
Perfect.
you go.
All right, we got
You got it.
5%. Did they get it,
They
Traci?
got it. They got it. Yeah. I talked about budget. I talked about authority, making sure that the decision-making processes are established up front. A lot of times you'll be like, okay, who's the decision maker? Who needs to be here when we talk about money? They'll either say just me or we need both. And I think that's really important because so much gets lost, right? And then you're asking them. They come to you and they need a new kitchen remodel. That's their need. And something you can say, okay, well, how are you currently handling this challenge of this kitchen that maybe there was a flood and they're, we're to stop, we're the bottleneck, we can't move on. And then what do you expect differently from our firm? Okay. So you're just asking them again, it's all about them. And somebody hit it, on the head before that you have to listen. And then the T in this is timeline, right? What is the timeline? When do you need this solution implemented? And then that's the thing. It's almost like that's all great because it's all about them, but you've got to look back at your process to see if they even qualify for the next steps. Are they okay with the way that you collect money? If you take a percentage of the design fee up front and then the rest when you present? Are they okay with giving you 100% of the product amount before you order, right? They need to know all these things to be going to the next step. And if they start like trying to change what you do, then that's definitely a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
It's a red flag.
Yeah, that's interesting. And we'll talk a little bit more about that toward the end. I think, like making sure you're really owning and confident about your own business. So step 3, though, is kind of like, so we've gotten to know them a little bit. We've earned some trust.
Yes.
And now we're in this stage of building value.
Yes. So I feel like the biggest value marker of all of this is that you are there to solve a problem. Keep leaning into it, right? You're also you're selling a solution, but there's a process that's involved to get to that end result. And I have found in all my years of doing this that there are 2 types of buyers. One is they need to know everything about the process. So I kind of talk about this airplane kind of analogy that if there's a couple and maybe the husband is like, okay, I'm going to figure out how we get to the airport, what time I'm going to call the Uber, where we're going to drop off the luggage, what gate, what happens when we get there, when check in the hotel and they get the rental car, blah, 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 right? They need to know every single step. There's another buyer that's like, I don't really care how I get to the airport, get on the plane, whatever. All I can picture is being on the beach in a lounge chair with an umbrella and a drink in my hand. So 2 different types of buyers, and you have to kind of read them as you're going through this sales cycle. So the way I do it is I build my value I have a pitch deck. And those of you who know me, this is what I teach in one of our programs, Confidential. And what that does, instead of you giving them marketing material, you actually go over this pitch deck because you talk about your special niche. You talk about your team. So if you are wanting to step out a little bit and you don't want to be there at every single part of the process, then you're saying how fabulous your team is. These are the people that you contact for billing and expediting and project management questions. You're showing your great drawings, your construction document set, your fabulous renderings, your finished furniture rooms, but they don't know that you do all these things because you haven't told them, you haven't shown them, right?
Yeah.
You need to ask, what is the most important thing in this process? That's the biggest. What is the most important thing? If somebody says, I don't want to be on the phone all the time, I don't want to have 65 meetings, to me, that's luxury. So I'm going to get on a tangent here, but part of your value could be, we get this done in a shorter period with less meetings. Because our luxury buyers, come on, time is the biggest luxury of all. You guys know that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
What if you could stream it down? Like, that's a novel idea. Like,
I
right?
think this is really funny, and maybe there's times when you have to find middle ground. Mandy just chimed in here and said, right now she has a project with a husband who wants to know everything and analyze everything, and a wife who's the lady at the beach. She's already got her drink. So
Right?
sometimes we do, but that's why we want both of those people at the table, right? So we can,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, they both care. I feel like it's inevitable. Like, somebody's going to care about different things. And then when they can come together, which rarely happens, you all know that,
Yeah.
you're the moderator, but that is part of the value that you bring. You prioritize, you help them prioritize, and you execute while bringing their vision to life, really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you're also telling them, how different you are than your competitors, right? They're looking for that differentiator. And a lot of that just has to do with connection. We buy from people that we like.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yep. So all that's that building trust in those early stages too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we're going to make them want only what we can provide. We've sold them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So now in step 4, we got to really build it up, right?
Yeah. So you want to make them desire what only you can bring to the table. That's it. It was funny because I was having some martinis last night with one of my colleagues in town.
I love that you said some, not a martini.
It's not why my eyes like swelled up today. That's funny. And so what I found really interesting, he said, I've got this big thing, like I'm teaching my designers now that it's basically, you don't have to have the whole house. If you can just get like maybe a room to start, you still have a good budget, you're going to do a great job, then you're earning the trust. And so he said he had someone come to him and just want to do a nursery. Well, the mother-in-law was paying for the nursery. And he's like, yeah, we don't typically do one room. Well, then he found out the budget for the nursery was $100,000, right?
Oh.
So this person only wanted to work with him. He had created so much desire about the end result. Yeah. So then he got the $100,000 nursery. And then the mother-in-law came back and said, oh, I just bought a double unit at the Ritz. I want you to do that too. So again, showing up, tapping into emotions. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
And the thing is too, when I talk about emotional selling, like, I think this is just so interesting because when clients come to you and they want a new kitchen, right? And you think about the way that they are going to make purchasing decisions. When I think about it, all I care about really is kind of like the toes in the sand, but I see myself in the kitchen. I see myself with dim lights at night, cooking some gourmet meal with my red glass of wine with music going on, and maybe my husband sitting there talking to me. Like, I painted this picture. So if someone can create that picture for me, beautiful renderings, right? Then you're more apt to purchase. So it's interesting. It's the emotion. It doesn't matter that the cabinets were white or brown. It's that emotion and being confident in the way that you sell the services. And we'll get into this in a minute because that will help you increase the profitability. As somebody said, I'm really good at upselling.
So the key is to get them picturing themselves in the space,
Mhm.
and becoming emotionally connected. Yeah, that's
Absolutely. And then showing them what you do that maybe no one else does, or, and that's why we talk about niching down. I know that's like, but you guys are getting really good. These designers like are getting really good with coming up, and I mean, I can say niching down, but even just a specialty and leaning into it and only talking to that client, you become a specialist. And we all know specialists get paid more money than general. If I even think about doctors, right? They get
yeah,
paid more.
yeah. Interesting, interesting. So sometimes, even when we're painting the picture, there
Hmm.
might be objections. What do we
Yeah.
do here?
Yeah. So sometimes you could tell, right? There are objections, but so this is what I would love for you to do. So you're sitting across from the couple and you ask, do you have any questions? Do you have any comments? And they said, well, yeah, we do. We kind of have some things that we really would like answered. And so you're like, great, you've got your notepad and you're just like, okay, let me make a list of, what are you concerned about? You write it down. What else? Write it down. Is there anything else? You write it down. And so you have a list of all their concerns, whether it's price or timeline or product, or you're not going to be involved enough, or we can't move out of the house and have this construction project done. Then you're going to look at them all. I mean, don't answer them one by one. You just take them all down. And then you go back and you circle the one that you feel like is the biggest pain point and the one that you can solve, like in your eyes. What's the biggest problem here and what can you solve? So you go back to that and you say, if I can answer all your questions, are you ready to buy? And then you be quiet. You just be
That's a
quiet,
hard part. Nobody likes awkward silence.
right? But
Yeah.
awkward silence just puts them in a position where they need to answer. You've asked a question and you need to answer.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they're going through this purchasing decision in their head, it's like I talk about that decisions are made in pain versus pleasure.
Which I
And
think
more
is so interesting.
isn't
And
it interesting? Yeah, it really is. And think about it. So more decisions are made to avoid pain than to gain pleasure. Something's
yeah,
not working. There's a challenge. Right? And the
yeah,
objections are part of it.
yeah.
We all know what they're going to say. They're going to say, well, we want to go home and think about it. And you're like, "Ah, what can I talk to you about right now that you don't have to go home and it could be that your next question is we seem a little hesitant, right? You might have some concerns and let's talk about those. And then you can talk about that list. But if it's something they're not comfortable with, I would love for you just to go back, approach each roadblock, address their concerns, and provide a solution.
Mm. Yeah, so you're thinking real time, right? Like we've got the list in front of us. We know all the hoops that we need to jump through and we need to try to respond to those. And
Right?
what I think is so interesting, and we talked about this before, is that pain then becomes part of the strategy, right? Because if you're leaving them in this sort of, I don't want to say, painful, awkward silence.
Right?
But they're thinking, it gives you a chance to think and respond. So yeah, pain is almost part of the strategy.
It is. And, most of the time when they're trying to overcome objections, I mean, it's funny because it's like, oh, cost is not the most important thing, but oftentimes it's a pricing concern.
Mm.
And they say, well, I didn't think it would cost this much, right? But if they're on a car lot, walking around looking at cars, right? Does the cost oftentimes hold them back from purchasing that one car they really want? Sometimes not. Again, you're
They figure
buying
it
from
out.
emotion.
Yeah, they figure
And the
it out.
key here is, right, if they don't want to pay the price, then you start taking things away. Okay, I understand that maybe the investment is not here for the whole house. Why don't we take out a couple of rooms, right? And
Hmm.
start from there, but never lower the
Hmm.
price.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, you don't get the heated steering wheel if you, yeah.
And the thing is, the biggest part of this is it's almost like they're giving you buying signals as you go through this. Because if they want to talk about price, this is interesting, that means they want to buy. They're coming
Uh-huh.
back. They want to talk about price again. They want to buy, but they want to buy on their terms.
Uh-huh.
That's the
Yeah.
trickiest part.
Yeah. Kind of finding
That's
the
why, yeah,
sweet
that's why
spot.
we do this budget up front, right? Before
Mm-hmm.
we sign a contract, we'll talk about this in a little bit, but you have a budget up front, all the money chat's over with. It just decreases the need to talk about money. You continue to work the sale and just continue to be super enthusiastic about it.
Yeah. 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 And so then once we've kind of overcome all those objections, we're going to move on to really trying to close the sale. And you've got some ways here that you can really kill a sale and some ways that you can carry a sale.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Closing the sale. And some of you all even noted this before, right? Be sincere, be ready to listen. And I like saying, like, talk to them, like say their name, when you're talking to them, but don't be afraid to ask for the sale.
mm,
And we never do that. I really would love to do your project. This would be, inspirational for myself. And I know that we can, have a super result at the end because, I told you this before, another statistic, it was 14% of consumers consider low price to be the primary purchasing decision. And I think maybe some high end, maybe a high end manufacturer did this, but think about that. It's not about the cost, because if it was about the cost, Mercedes would be out of business, Starbucks would be out of business,
yeah.
Siemens would be out of business, right? So
Yeah.
what can we do differently to attract that level client,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
That's who we're, yeah, who's the client.
14%.
I
It's
know, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is crazy. And but
Mhm.
it just goes to show, like, if they want something and they're going after the project, that's not their hang up 9 times
No.
out of 10. So
Oftentimes, because if we don't get a job, I'm asking that client. I'm very humble. I'm sending them an email and I say, hey, I understand. It's no hard feelings. I'm just trying to understand from a business owner's perspective. I really
mm,
want to continue growing in my firm and improving it. Can you let me know why you went another direction? And a lot of them are just so nice by telling
yeah,
me, but cost sometimes isn't it, right?
yeah.
It just
Well,
isn't
and what
it.
a way to learn to follow up with
Oh,
whether
yes.
you have the sale or not.
Humble.
Yeah,
Being
yeah.
humble. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
And
And I
the
did
thing
want
is
to touch.
too, like with closing it, another thing is basically telling them it's not really what you're selling, but it's your job to determine what product will work best for them.
Mm-hmm,
Right? That's your
mm-hmm,
job.
mm-hmm.
That's your job.
Yeah. And then so after the sale, even if you don't get it, you follow up. But when you do, then what?
Well, the one thing, and we talk about killing a sale for just a second.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, 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 no. Like you guys probably already know this. To kill a sale, you're too anxious, you're too
Mm.
pushy, you're emailing them every day. Well, have you made a decision? Have you just like, it's you just got to play hard to get, right? You seem insincere. You're pushing. It's clear that you just want to get the money in the bank. I mean, that's the reality. But also you're not listening to them. If you haven't hit the pain point, that means you're not listening. So great ways to kill the sale. So we want to try to avoid those couple of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Heather, this is great. Tracy, this just popped in the chat. She said,
Yes,
"I never lose. I either win or I learn."
absolutely. Yeah,
That's
that's me
fantastic.
too. So when
Yep.
one of them said, oh, this is, yeah, when I wrote back, hey, why'd you choose a different direction? And you know what she said? There was another designer, because it was a referral from an architect. And she said this other designer was so enthusiastic to work with this particular architect, and then had
Oh,
a couple other projects that really resonated with her husband. But I thought to myself, well, I've already worked with this architect several times. Like, why would I be enthusiastic? But it taught me, right, to be
Yeah.
enthusiastic, how great this partnership
About
would
the
be. We've
partner.
worked well together. So absolutely,
Hmm.
I learned too. I know.
I love it. Yep. That's a great way to look at it. Yeah. So now when we're following up.
Yeah. So okay, so y'all, congratulations, you closed the sale. So that's cool, right? You closed the sale. The biggest thing is just to keep them, even if you're finished with the project, keep them in your system, nurture the client, send them, thank you regular notes, because what happens is when you're done with these 7 steps, you're actually starting the 7 steps over again, because you know what? You want that next room. You want the vacation home, right? You go back to promoting your value and establishing that rapport again, so you can get them back into your world and then have a repeat client. Okay.
Yeah. Fantastic. All right. Now we're going to talk about selling the product. So this is
Yeah,
kind of the next step, right?
it is. So the way I look at it, the first phase is like the really, you're selling your services. Okay, great. They've joined your firm, they're going to be a client. And now you have to start the same sales process over when it has to do with product. Okay. So you're going to follow the same step process as in the first phase. But the key is, and you see, it's definitely, it's back to building the value, creating the desire. And this is all around the product. Overcome the objections of the product. This is where it's cool to increase your profitability, is where you can upsell. And so we talked about the fact that you have a budget, right? And I always say, I'm here to respect that budget. However, if you do find a fantastic dining room table and, the wood came from, I don't know, I can't even make anything up, where Thailand, right? And they actually honeymooned there. How do you create that connection? And you connect the product with the client. Maybe it's a custom art piece that was commissioned, in their favorite vacation spot or something. You tell about the artist, the inspiration. The more you can tell about the product, show a video, just like in plumbing fixtures. You all have the most fantastic videos of the faucets in the water, and you're just kind of like, God, this is so relaxing. I want to be in that space. But
Yeah.
maybe that's not within the budget. But again, you create that emotional connection. Great way to upsell, right? Have the regular one there just to respect it. Right. And your design team can do that too. I know, it's like, we call it the Mary Poppins bag. So if we're like doing a presentation and we've got our fabrics out or whatever, but like there's some really cool ones over here, we'll just put them on the table. You
Yeah.
never know. It's a
You
good way to
never know.
increase your profits, right?
I love it. Yeah. Kind of like, oh, and there are also these. Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
also these. Yeah.
Very good. So we're repeating those steps when it's time to sell the product. 3, 4, 5, and 6, right?
Yes. Yes. Right.
Great. And oh, sorry, I'm interrupting with a commercial here for before we go into talking about negotiations and some of the things contract wise, we popped in a little interaction here again. We want the people on the line to tell us what kind of negotiator they are today. So we've got the queen of upselling. She's probably kind of dog eat dog. What about the rest of you? How do you negotiate? What kind of negotiator are you? Do you have a little feather in your cap, something you've done that you can share with the group? Oh, a lot of them are cool cats. They're just kind of sliding in. Wonder if we have any new kids out there that are learning anything. Oh, lots of cool cats. This is great. This is great. Well, I just want to get you in that mindset because now we're going to talk a little bit more about negotiating, being confident when it comes to contracts and how we do that. Oh,
Exactly.
RJ, we got a dog eat dog out there. Awesome, guys. I love it.
Yeah, I love
All
it.
right, so back to our
Sometimes it is.
regular scheduled program here. Um, so
Yeah,
confidence is key. So we're
it
wrapping up
is.
here with final tips.
Yeah, you guys, this before we kind of go into some nitty-gritty fee stuff, but I just feel like the key, you know, in negotiations, in closing, is you have to be confident in the way that you do things. So not only with your sales skills, but confident in the way that you run your business, right? Because you've set the boundaries in your contract, you've established your fees and your margins, to be able to profit, right? And selling your cost of goods and have that good profit margin. But it's knowing this backwards and forward and not wavering on this, right? And we talk about, confidence. And then the next part of confidence is actually the next, the next part here. Go ahead, Faye, to the next one, because this is really where you're going to kill it. So it has to do with complexity. Remember, I said at the beginning that, when people are confused, they don't buy. When you confuse them with your structure, right? Your kind of your contract, but spelling out these things, like these are non-negotiables, right? In your company, this is the way we collect payment. This is how many site visits we get. This is how many reselections are in our contract. This is what happens when you fall out of scope. And I do know that even for designers too, when you have a repeatable automated system, it's just easier, number one, to stick by it, but to talk about it as well. I know a lot of designers that recreate the wheel every single time that they get a new job, right? Like, what would it be like if you establish a standard each time you present your agreement, your fee structure? It just becomes like cakewalk. Okay, there's no brainer. You're just going to breeze through it. But the
And then
more
you're not spending
keep
time
changing,
there.
yes, oh, absolutely, right? That's time saved, that's opportunity cost. And that way you're not going back to square one. Like every single time we do estimates, it's the same way, right? We know what our profit margins need to be, the way that we price it, the way we estimate fees. But it's that structure that gives you the confidence to go in same time every time. Every
Yeah.
time.
Hey, and we talked about this before. I mean, that this idea of kind of having confident and clear language when you speak and when you're writing into your contracts. I
Right.
mean, there are little things that you really need to think about. And this is one that you brought to my attention. And it was, hey, there's a big difference between the word reselect and revision. And yeah, so a reselection is one thing, a revision is a whole nother thing. And so we have to be super clear on what we're able and willing to provide.
I mean, you guys, what happens to me, I swear, it doesn't matter where I am. Like a light bulb will just like come on in my head. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this all wrong. Because you have to look at your pain points in your firm and you're like, my God, like the designers are choosing like 10 lamps and they feel bad about it. And, this and the other. And then the client's like, well, I want a new, like if you have the word revision in your contract and you're like one revision per space. You know what that could mean? They could be like, oh, well, this is great, but I really want it in a more traditional style because somehow you missed the mark, on the onboarding. You could redo every single room if you say revision. That's why being clear to them, you establish how many reselects per space after you've presented a space, whether it's a build or whether it's furnishings, put that in your contract. So what happens is they give you a list of maybe the things they would like you to reselect. Like we allow one reselect item per room. After that phase is done, anything else is just hourly. Like you move out of the flat fee, which is another big topic we should talk about, because this also, I think, helps you sell, by really, having your fees structured in a way, again, that you feel confident with, that makes sense to your prospective client. And the fee structure, because I know I like to talk about it. I talk about the one I usually use, right? You've got to use your data to estimate your time. You have to cover all your time. And to me, this can be done in a flat fee structure.
Mm.
How do you set a flat fee? Well, first of all, you need that, like I said, I would say for like beginning designers, I would stick to hourly for a while, but we tracked all our time for so long that I have a pretty good estimate what that flat fee will be. Well, here's the goal. Maybe you set a goal of your design fee is 100 hours on something because you're efficient, because you have repeatable repeatable systems and processes that are automated. Your process goes a lot faster. The goal is to maybe you spend 85 hours instead of 100. You still
Mm.
collected money for the 100, but you pocket that extra 15. That's the idea behind it. It's not like how fast, Traci, how fast can you get this done? I'm paying you for the hours. It's no, Traci, you put in 10 years of research on this in your systems and processes, your knowledge. I'm paying for the time for the value that it takes for you to do it.
Yeah, yeah. The actual value. Yeah. That makes so much sense.
Solution, right?
Mm-hmm,
The
mm-hmm.
solution.
And you did mention if you are new to the field, and you don't know where to begin, you probably do have to do some sort of hourly kind of tracking your data for a time,
I
right?
would. I would. Because sometimes it gets hard staying, within your boundaries. Because, oh, okay, just one more. And like we just get persuaded.
Mm.
And so sticking by those, I mean, the profitability increase that I have seen in my company just by my designers saying, okay, your reselection round is up. If you want to go to the next one, it's going to be your hourly rate of X. And I'm
Mm.
like, ooh, right? This
Mm.
is fantastic. They fell out of scope. They left the sandbox that you have put together for your design fees. And it's fine. If you want 10 more lamps, knock yourself out. We'll give you 10.
Yeah. Right.
But we're going to charge for it.
It'll cost you.
Yeah.
Mandy has a quick question, and then I think we got to move on. But she's asking, do you bury freight and warranty in your fee for products?
No, freight's just a separate line item. And we do an estimated freight amount on the very first proposal. So the way we do it,
Mm.
we like present everything at one time. So your first proposal, that's the big one. And so they're all happy. They're so excited. So you put everything in there that you can, your sales tax, your freight, your estimate for your freight. Now for warranty, I don't include anything. Warranty is with the manufacturer.
Mm.
But when we're
Mhm.
talking about product cost, you guys, your markup, whatever that is, right? That's your insurance, that's your warranty. So basically, when something gets shipped, the freight company is not going to pay for it. They're blaming the receiving warehouse. The receiving warehouse is blaming the manufacturer. No one takes responsibility. Sometimes it lands on you.
Yeah.
That is why we have to have healthy markups to cover the cost of this. Going back out and, reinstalling, it just kind of stinks,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's
But then
the
you're
cost of
covered,
yeah,
if you
you're gonna get
punch it
covered. Mhm.
smart. Yeah, Kirsten is commenting too. I love it that they're, sharing some best practices in the
Yeah.
chat here. Yeah, great. Mandy said, awesome, thank you. Man, oh man, we could talk forever. Each of these, the hour goes by so fast.
I know.
But you know what? Our whole goal is to connect all of you out there with Traci and with each other. And the learning doesn't have to stop here. The hour unfortunately has to come to an end. But we want to end on this Traci quote. Well, you know what? In the beginning, actually, one of your presentations said something along the lines of, get rid of those butterflies, go in confident. And these are so many ways to do that because we've all felt that. We've all felt that like, gosh. So you just want to know, going in, I have boundaries. I'm going to stick to them. But I love this too. So establish that initial budget before presentation day. So know when you're going in and stick to it when you're creating that proposal. Then your confidence should be skyrocketing when you
You go
present.
into presentation day, no more butterflies. You nailed it, right? You gave them what they wanted. So
Yeah. Oh, listen to this. Carrie said she took 4 pages of inspirational
Aw,
notes. Thank you for
aw.
your insight, she said.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. You're welcome. You guys at Instagram, join the gloss. Follow me over there. I mean, seriously, let's continue to connect. I would love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's how you can do it. I think Lee will drop into the chat some links for easy connection to all of Traci's socials and to her website. I took pictures. I took pictures to write it back down. That's great.
Oh, Marie's here. Oh, hi, Marie.
Oh, Tracy's the bomb.
You're
Yes,
so
she is.
sweet.
Well, as we close up in these last few minutes, well, we want to announce our winners.
Yes.
So first and foremost,
I know. I'm looking
yeah,
in the chat.
me too, me too, me too. Let's see, Lee, can you drop those back into the chat? We saw them come through.
Oh, good,
People
Kirsten.
are following.
Yay.
Oh,
Okay.
there's one.
There's one, and we have 2. Is that right?
We have 2. So the first one is going to win a pull down lavatory faucet, one of the 3 shown here. And it looks like that is Mandy.
Yes. Okay, Mandy Lassick, you are the winner of the first one. Oh my gosh, and how exciting. You want me to announce the other one?
Yeah.
Heather Mulally, is that right? Yes, I know Heather. Yes.
We gave you the hard
one.
job to pronounce the names. I think you did great. Mandy says so oh, and Heather too. They're both here. So
Yes.
ladies, we will be in touch. You will receive an email from Pipeline by DFC, and we'll be coordinating your selection and making sure it gets shipped off to you. So thanks for your participation today. That was awesome. I cannot thank you enough, Traci, for all of the wisdom. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, this is like a snippet of what you can learn from Traci, and just an example of why network matters and why we're here to do that for you and for ourselves. We learn so much from each other. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts, Traci, for giving your time and talent.
Well, you are very welcome. I am happy to anytime, and thanks to all of you. Really, it's a great service that you're providing here, the Pipeline.
Awesome.
It is, especially now, right? I think the education it's needed right now. So
Yeah, absolutely. Just love keeping everyone connected. And speaking of keeping people connected, on September 18th, we're going to have Morgan Molitor here. She's going to be talking about AI and using AI in her design business. So something that you don't want to miss. I know it's a big topic. It's a controversial topic. It's, something that I think we can all learn from again. So hop on September 18th, mark your calendars now, and follow us at Pipeline by DFC. And I think we'll get Lee to drop that in the chat too. So you can go out to the website and follow us on social, mainly Instagram. We have LinkedIn and Facebook as well. So find us on any of those platforms, and you'll start to see announcements when it's time to register for September 18th. So that's what we got for you today, everybody. And we are ending at 2:00 Eastern on the nose. When does that ever happen?
I love it.
Very good. All right, Traci, thanks so much. Thanks everybody on the line.
Bye, everybody. Have a good day.
Find your way to celebrate Juneteenth, and we'll see you in September.
It's National Martini Day too.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's
True.
big. Why
Bye,
did
everybody.
you have a giant slide on that? Happy National Martini Day, everyone. See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.